Moodz616 sucks fucking dick. What a fucking asshole, man. I met him at Wayside, fucking dickhead. Goddamn. Fuck him, man. Fuck. It looks.
A tisket, a tasket, a bloody basket. Cut his head and ate his leg. Now he's in a casket.
Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to episode 18 of my random horror reviews. I am your host Moodz616 and thank you once again for stopping in. Alrighty guys, yeah, episode 18 is here and I've got one from Artsploitation films. They sent one over to review and I do believe this one is coming out June 9th, I believe, so that is tomorrow, depending on when I get up the review. So, but yeah, and I believe this is also their first Blu-ray. Official Blu-ray too that's come out, so that's really cool. It's a German film directed by Till Kleinert. Hopefully I didn't butcher the crap out of that name, and it is called Der Samurai. Yeah, that cover art, man. Love the cover art. It's really kind of eerie and creepy when you gotta look at it, but yeah, getting into the synopsis of this film right here. Basically centers around your main character, Jacob. He's a police officer in this small little weird, surreal kind of, city, or I should say small town. But anyways, they kind of have like a critter problem or an animal problem. People's dogs and other animals and stuff are being slaughtered. Jacob kind of realizes that, or he kind of comes to think that, it could be a wolf doing this killings and stuff. So to keep the predator away from the small little town, he actually starts feeding this thing. He starts setting out meats and stuff like that. And of course he starts getting bugged by the local bikers and other people are kind of razzing him, giving him a hard time about it because, what happens when you stop feeding, the wolf or whatever, it's going to come into the city and start wreaking havoc even more. So anyways, he starts doing that, and one day he gets he actually receives a package at the police station. And it's this huge, long gated package and stuff, and it's actually, it's addressed to the wolf, or the lone wolf, or something like that. But there's a phone number on it, so he phones the number, and he starts talking to this guy, and he's like, well, why did you get this thing delivered to my work? Why didn't you just get it delivered to your own house? Anyways, the guy kind of talks him into bringing it over, so Jacob grabs this package, brings it over to this house, and he delivers it to this guy. He pulls it out, and he pulls out what's inside the package, and it turns out to be a samurai sword. Now, this guy is actually dressed in a dress, very, very much resembling a transvestite. And anyways, when he grabs the sword, this guy starts wreaking havoc on the entire town, creating like crazy violence. And Jacob's kind of along for the ride on it too, because he's really trying to stop this guy from taking out everybody and stuff like that. But unfortunately he can't do it, so he's kind of along on the ride. They're kind of playing this cat and mouse type game, and yeah, and I'll just leave it right there. Now my thoughts on this one. Wow, this is a really, really interesting flick, I have to say. First off, I want to talk about the look of the film. Now I think the director did a fantastic job with creating this very, very potent fantasy, surreal but realistic almost small town. Like there's parts of the city that are very realistic, but it's very fantasy and very surreal. I think he did such a phenomenal job with the look of the film. It just looks really, really great. It has this like interesting fantasy feel to it, but at the same time kind of realistic, but like so surreal though. It's kind of one of those things that you have to kind of see, really. It's just fantastic, the atmosphere and the look and the feel of the film right away. I think another really interesting thing to this film is the scenes themselves are very infused with different types of music and stuff, which I really think helps kind of bring out the story. It really kind of helps it develop throughout the story. This one right here is a very, very solid fantasy horror mystery type film. It's one of those films that is not spoon-fed to you at all. You really have to pay attention throughout the whole film. You kind of have to, see symbols and symbolism and certain things, and the way the story is told, you really kind of have to digest everything right to the end of the film, or else this one, you might kind of overlook the true meaning of what the actual film is about. And I think that, setting it up with, you know, the look and feel of it infused with this great music really kind of adds to the story, which is quite interesting in my opinion, because, you know, music is such a big part of films, but it really does help in this film completely too. Like I said, you know, this samurai guy, you know, dressed in this dress, very, very interesting character. Now, you don't really know exactly what is going on with this character. That's why it's kind of like, you know, when you're watching the film, you know, is this Jacob struggling with his inner demons, or is this actually real? That's, you know, or is it just, you know, a total surreal kind of all in his mind? There's all these things that are going through your mind, and I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to give anything away. I'll wait to, you know, if you guys watch the film for yourselves, but there's a lot of interesting things in there. Another cool really thing about the film too is kind of how there's interwoven storylines in this one too. Now, the first one is kind of with this biker gang and stuff. And now, when you first watch the film, you might not think it really means a whole lot, but I really think that it actually kind of helps, you know, the story move along. And by the end of the film, you kind of realize why they put in these biker gangs. And also, there's a storyline with his grandma. And now, though I think those are very potent, you know, kind of side and side stories in the film. You know, the interwoven plots that really do help the whole, you know, outcome of this film and what this film is actually really about. Now, when I first seen the biker gang in this, it instantly reminded me of the gang from the Lost Boys. I don't know what it is. They don't really look like them at all, but it's just the way they were. They're on these bikes, and I don't know, just kind of how they're all close-knit friends and stuff, and I thought that was quite interesting. But this one right here isn't... You know, like I said, it's not a spoon-fed film at all. It's got some really interesting elements to it. It's got, you know, homoeroticism throughout the whole film. You know, there's undertones of it at first, but then there's some, like, flying overtones of it also. I won't give away the scenes and stuff, but really, really interesting, man. But I think there's a lot of cool things that are infused into this film. And I know, like, you know, wolves and stuff are very... You know, the folklore and, you know, the whole thing with wolves in, like, Eastern Europe and stuff is very potent, you know. And I think it really does infuse the story so well with it, too, man. You know, it's very kind of nightmarish at times. And, you know, there's a lot of things that are, you know, you may feel that are unexplained in this film. But I think, you know, throughout multiple watches and stuff, I think you'll be able to pick up on more more symbols and more symbolism that's throughout this film. There's a lot going on in here. There's a lot to digest. A lot to bring in, so I think multiple watches is probably the way to go on this one. You know, it even says right on the back here, you know, a shape-shifting, cross-dressing psychopath wielding a samurai sword cuts, you know, shape-shifting. Now, it's interesting because when you're watching the film, I guess you kind of get a little bit of the shape-shifting with the wolf and the human and stuff, but I don't know, man. All I can say is that this one had me intrigued throughout the entire film. I don't want to give anything else away about the movie. I will talk about the effects a little bit. I have to say that most of the effects were practical. I think there was a little bit of computer-generated stuff in there, not, you know, enough to kind of go, ooh, that was, you know, that's kind of gross or anything. But no, I think the effects were done really well. It's very, very bloody. A lot of decapitation occurs with a samurai sword. It's what you expect when you know, your weapon is a samurai sword. You know, your physical weapon is your, you know, is the samurai sword in this one. There is other weapons used in this one. Again, it's something you're going to have to see once you see this film for yourself. Yeah, I can't recommend this one enough. I think it's really, really interesting, you know. And there is a commentary on this Blu-ray, which I'm really going to have to check out. And also on the inside, there's a little bit of an interview with Artsploitation Films. I started reading a little bit before I started doing the review and stuff. So, but the whole review's not in there. You got to go to the website to read the rest of it. But I do want to check out the commentary on this because I think it goes into more about like how they made the film and maybe a little bit more of the meaning too behind it and stuff. But I think this one actually isn't open for interpretation at the end. I think there actually is a true meaning to it. And yeah, I mean, I don't think the end is masked at all, you know, in my opinion. And just from the brief kind of blips that I read and stuff about it, even before watching the film, which I usually, I mean, I didn't get really anything from what I read, but all I gotta say, man, I hope that review really helps out. It's a visual treat, you know, infused with amazing music. The performances are actually really well done in this film also, which is really cool because the actors used in this film were actually like, they were basically very, very non-experienced actors, which is really cool because I think they did a pretty damn good job in this. And I have to say, it's sometimes hard to tell because, you know, the film is in German, so it is subtitled, but which I didn't say off the start of the review, but, you know, sometimes it's hard to tell, you know, because you got that language barrier. But I think they did a pretty good job in this. But Der Samurai, if I had to rate this one, I'm going to give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. I think with multiple viewings, it's probably going to go up on this one. It only runs about 79 minutes, which is interesting. It gets right into the story, and it's just a ride throughout the whole movie. So be prepared, you know, for a bloody mess. Kind of a head trip. It's kind of psychological at the same time. And there's just so many things going on, so much realism and surrealism and almost escapism, and, you know, I can just go on and on about, you know, so many adjectives to describe this film, but it was definitely a treat to watch. And I have to say, the ending was fantastic. I really enjoyed the ending, and to me it made perfect sense, but that's just me, you know. I really just got down and just kind of just really tried to understand this film. So The Samurai, definitely give it a shot from Artsploitation Films, coming out this Tuesday, June 9th. And yeah, that's going to be the review. I hope that didn't go on too long. If you're still with me at the end, thank you. I just believe that there's so much to say about this. I'm really trying to keep this short, but I'm blabbering on again, of course. But anyways, guys, check out the film. I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. Very different film. And I'll check you in the next review, episode 19. Peace out, homies.